Did you know that for Deadpool, through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, 13-year-old Connor McGrath, a terminally ill fan from Edmonton, requested to attend the special event for Deadpool in January, but he couldn't make it due to the severity of his illness. Ryan Reynolds heard his story, and being the wonderful human that he is, traveled to Edmonton and surprised him with a private special screening of the film. Reynolds said the boy was the first person ever to see the film. They kept in touch until Connor's passing a few months later. Reynolds paid tribute to him on his social media pages. 2. Ryan Reynolds revealed that the taxi driver character, Dopinder, was named after a really cool guy he knew in elementary school who died when hit by lightning. The character was meant to be a tribute to him. 3. While filming, Ryan Reynolds visited sick kids via Make-A-Wish Foundation as Deadpool. 4. 20th Century Fox refused to pay the writers of the film, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, for on-set input. Ryan Reynolds paid out of his own pocket for them to be on set to look over the film for 6 years. 5. Ryan Reynolds has said that Deadpool will be the last comic book character he will ever portray. However, he doesn't object to future Deadpool sequels and/or cameos. Did you know that for Deadpool 2, Ryan Reynolds was at a dinner party with Matt Damon and pitched him the Toilet Paper Manifesto and asked Damon if he wanted to play the part? Damon thought it was hilarious and agreed to the cameo. 2. When Deadpool complains about Domino's powers, he says that it must have been the idea of an artist who can't even draw feet. Domino and Deadpool's co-creator, Rob Liefeld, is widely mocked and criticized for avoiding drawing characters' feet and hands. 3. Ryan Reynolds wrote Brad Pitt a letter pitching the idea of a cameo to him. "I just wrote him a letter and explained what it was we were doing," Reynolds said. "And the sort of premise behind it was to think of the most wasteful way to use the biggest movie star in the world, and it was through a character that is largely invisible and worthless throughout the movie," he continued, saying Pitt seemed to like the idea. "And I guess Brad found that funny. We all found that funny. And he said yes. And the next thing you know, he came and shot for about 7 minutes," Reynolds added. Reynolds only had good things to say about Pitt. Did you know that for Incredibles 2, writer and director Brad Bird had stated over the years that he would only do a sequel to The Incredibles if he could come up with a story that was just as good as, or better than, its predecessor? The idea of Mr. Incredible becoming a stay-at-home dad, while Elastigirl becomes the breadwinner, was there from the beginning, but it took several years for Bird to come up with the perfect story around which to write this idea. 2. Just like in The Incredibles, Frozone's wife Honey does not appear on screen. She is only heard yelling at her husband from off-camera as he runs off to don his supersuit and help the Parr family like last time. According to writer and director Brad Bird, Honey was initially going to appear on screen and she even got her own character design, but ultimately they decided it would be funnier if she remained off-screen. The character design for Honey would still be used for a background character. 3. For this movie, Huck Milner took over voicing Dash as the character's original voice actor Spencer Fox's voice had deepened too much since The Incredibles. 4. Instead of this movie being released in June of 2019, Pixar swapped release dates with Toy Story 4 as the film was being completed ahead of schedule while the other was lagging in production. Did you know that for Bohemian Rhapsody, British choreographer and movement coach Polly Bennett worked painstakingly with Rami Malek to perfect every nuance of Freddie Mercury's mannerisms? Every eye glance, every body turn, every cocky strut on stage, and every flick of the microphone had to be just right. 2. The note Freddie Mercury sustained for almost 6 seconds during the call and response performance with the crowd at Live Aid came to be known as the note heard round the world. 3. For his role as Freddie Mercury, Rami Malek was fitted with special prosthetic teeth to recreate Freddie's prominent overbite. After filming Wrapped, Rami kept the teeth as a memento from the shoot, eventually having them cast in gold. 4. Rami Malek sent a video of himself singing to Queen. When he finally met them, they hadn't watched it because it hadn't been downloaded properly. Malek saw firsthand their initial reaction to his singing. 5. The cat person Freddie Mercury is portrayed as in the film is apparently close to reality. In his biography written by Leslie Ann Jones, friends state that he would often call home from tour asking to talk to the cats, and make sure the TV was turned on for shows broadcast live so that the cats could watch. Did you know that for Wolf of Wall Street, Matthew McConaughey's scenes were shot on the second week of filming? The chest beating and humming performed by him was improvised, and a warm-up rite that he performs before acting. When Leonardo DiCaprio saw it while filming, the brief shot of him looking away uneasily from the camera was him looking at Martin Scorsese for approval. DiCaprio encouraged them to include it in their scene and later claimed it set the tone for the rest of the film. 2. Martin Scorsese offered Margot Robbie to appear wearing a bathrobe during the seduction scene between her and Leonardo DiCaprio. Robbie refused and insisted on doing the scene fully nude, her first in her career. The rumor that it is CGI is false and was started by Robbie, with her stating, "The whole point of Naomi is that her body is her only form of currency in this world. She has to be naked. She's laying her cards on the table." Robbie said she had 3 shots of tequila in succession before shooting the scene to relax because she was very, very nervous. After shooting was complete, Robbie initially fibbed to her family and friends about doing the nude scene in order to delay any personal repercussions, claiming CGI was used to superimpose her head on a body double. She eventually changed her mind and confessed when the film was released. Did you know that for Dune, David Lynch, the director of the previous Dune released in 1984, stated that he has zero interest in the new movie? He cited that his issues have nothing to do with director Denis Villeneuve, but with his own painful memories of making the 1984 version. "Because it was a heartache for me. It was a failure and I didn't have final cut. I've told this story a billion times. It's not the film I wanted to make. I like certain parts of it very much, but it was a total failure for me." 2. Composer Hans Zimmer is a big fan of the novel Dune and turned down working with frequent collaborator Sir Christopher Nolan on Tenet to score this film. Hans Zimmer spent a week in the deserts of Utah alone to assimilate some of the sounds of the landscape into his thinking for the score. 3. Adapting Dune for the big screen has been a lifelong dream of Denis Villeneuve and wanted to make sure he got it right. So he waited until he'd done the science fiction films Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 first, so that he would have sufficient experience in the genre before starting work on this film. In fact, scenes from his prior films are strongly influenced by his interpretations of scenes from the novel. Did you know that for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Brad Pitt reportedly left the project after Nicole Kidman dropped out and her replacement had not yet been found? Once Angelina Jolie signed on, he returned to the project. 2. When Jane is going to her first shown kill, she correctly answers a question from the quiz show Jeopardy! This was unscripted and spur of the moment on the part of Angelina Jolie. They kept it. 3. Brad Pitt left in the middle of shooting for 3 months to shoot Ocean's 12. 4 in one scene, Benjamin Dance, played by Adam Brody, is wearing a Fight Club t-shirt while being interrogated by Brad Pitt. Pitt starred in Fight Club. 5. Johnny Depp was originally cast as John Smith, but turned it down after being overworked with other movies he was shooting. 6. In order to get a wider PG-13 audience, a very steamy sex scene between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie was cut. 7. The coffee shop scene where Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie confront Vince Vaughn was filmed in the same coffee shop as a scene in Old School, also starring Vaughn. A coffee shop scene in Gone in 60 Seconds where Nicolas Cage talks with his mother also used the same location and also starred Jolie. Did you know that for National Treasure, the movie suggests that something is written on the back of the Declaration of Independence? It is true that something is written on its back. The writing on the back of the Declaration of Independence reads, "Original Declaration of Independence dated 4th of July, 1776, and it appears on the bottom of the document upside down. While no one knows for certain who wrote it, it is known that early in its life, the large parchment document was rolled up for storage. So it is likely that the notation was added simply as a label. 2. It can be tricky to secure permission to film on government property, which is why producers of National Treasure considered themselves fortunate when they discovered that Walter Knott of Knott's Berry Farm had built a perfect replica of Independence Hall on his land in Buena Park, California back in the 1960s. The production used it for a scene requiring Cage to run on the hall's roof, a stunt that was not likely to have been approved by caretakers of the real thing. 3. When Ben and Riley are talking on the steps in front of the Lincoln Memorial, the water in the reflecting pool was digitally added later. The pool had been drained for maintenance at the time of filming.